you don't have to take the world so seriously. If the battle you're in is making you feel crappy, get out of that battle. There's no reason to be in it. Just because if you change sides or if you change an opinion or if you change your beliefs about something, that's nothing more than getting smarter and gaining knowledge.
Today's returning guest is psychic medium David Hanzel. David, like Richard Martini and Christina Brinkley, will be recurring guests, each having their own episode one time per month. David has a remarkable story. To hear it in greater detail, please listen to his episode, which aired on April 7th and was called Spirit Knows Who You Are. Briefly though, from a young age, David could always communicate with spirits and those departed to the other side. But then as an adult, he survived a near-death experience which gave him a really distinct peek into the afterlife. His gifts as a medium, they're exactly that, precious gifts. Yes, because of the messages he shares, but also because of the love and kindness with which he shares them. I had 2 readings and they were powerful and profound. To learn more about David and to schedule a reading, I encourage you to go to his website, theywhispertome.com. Welcome back, David.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. And so, audience, as you listen, we just had a conversation about where we are going to focus. And really my intention with having him as a guest is to follow his lead so that he can connect with his guides and ask who wants to come forward and share messages. And I will be asking questions. So you may hear some pauses as he's translating their messages, but I think it'll be really, really fun. So where do we begin, David?
Well, the guide that seemed to have showed up while we were talking earlier, we have many guides. And this is one guide who came in the most to help me within mediumship after my MD and NDE. So he's the one who comes in and I believe he facilitates some of the things that I do when I'm doing mediumship readings. So if I can't hear the loved one as much, because it's a weird process, but sometimes if I can't understand them, Zamir comes in and that's who I'm speaking to. He makes me jittery.
He does.
No, in a good way. He has just really strong energy. When he comes in, he facilitates and he'll give me the messages that I can't hear in another way where he knows how I can get it because he's well aware of how I can receive information. He's also one who pushes me beyond my boundaries sometimes. He'll speak to me in one way and then he'll change it up. And then I'll be asking him, like, where'd you go? He's like, I'm still here. You're not paying attention. And I'm basically like that. Okay. So it seems that they teach me as we go. They're teachers for the rest of your life because nobody who does mediumship, we don't have all the answers right off the bat. It's not something that you know everything and there's nothing more to learn. It's a constant learning thing. And then because that the world is changing and the world is shifting into a 4th dimensional plane, which we're so close, what happens with me and speaking to the other side also changes. It's the veil becomes a lot thinner for me, but there's still times that they really don't want to freak people out yet because people still aren't fully aware of who they are, what they can do, what's happening and everything else. And some are supposed to be in that not knowing phase. I mean, that was their journey. So we try not to interrupt those people. And that's why I was telling you earlier why my guide told me in the beginning, not without being asked, which means I never just walk up to a stranger and say, hey, so-and-so's here for you, or hey, something's happening. Not unless it is a extremely strong urge. And then again, I wait for the permission of my guide, but not that I need permission, but I still wait for it because they endow us with the discernment to know what's right,
Got it.
you
Got
know.
it. I see. I see. Really helpful. So let's stay with Zamir. Is it okay with Zamir if I ask him some questions about who he is?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
because I don't
Was
even
he,
know everything. So,
oh, this will be exciting for both of us. So was he ever in human form living on Earth?
several times, not just here, though, other places. He never spent much time here. He was in the, I don't know about maps, my friend. Oh, East India. East India? East India was around there.
Okay.
Um, he was, as we call them, gurus at one point. He was not well known. Um, Thank you. He was murdered. Why? Oh, your beliefs. I heard you told me that before. Because of his beliefs, because he was speaking to spirits. In his time, he was speaking, he wasn't famous or anything. So um, he was speaking to spirits or knew about that in his time, and it did not go along with what the religious teachings were. The fact that he was a loner and wanted to be kind of a hermit type person. He wanted nothing to do with marriages or anything like that. He was literally just here to do these things. He said he came in with a memory of the other side when he was here. Um, Murder was the way he was supposed to go. It wasn't a painful, terrible thing. He was literally just. It's kind of. I think he was poisoned. That's what it feels like when he's giving it to me. It feels like he was poisoned by somebody. Um, and that was for his beliefs because he was talking to people. That was probably the last time he was here, and that was I. If I could you give me some kind of time frame? It was before Christ, so
Before
it was,
Christ. It's a while
yeah,
ago. A while
yeah. That's
ago.
quite a bit ago. Yeah, he said
And
it was he said as much as it was an important life, it was more of the life was more for him that one. Otherwise, he's been in other places, other planets. I guess other dimensional things he's been on. When he appeared to me, which is a funny story, I knew there's this energy that was around me, and it felt. He's got such a I almost feel like he's like I want to cower in front of him, but he's just not like scary. But it's just like you just know he's just really, really quite energetic, quite loving, of course. But he had mentioned, well, after this happened, he had mentioned to me he has been trying to get hold of me for a long time, and he took advantage of what had just happened to me to make himself known.
with the near
So
death experience.
yeah. So, because I didn't see him there. He wasn't there. Because I asked him, I said, "Did I see you there?" He said, "No, you didn't, because there was no reason to. You were coming back." But he he came into a what I thought was a dream, but it wasn't. I was awake because after it happened, I opened my eyes. I'm like, "Wait, I'm still awake." I thought I was sleeping, and I wasn't. It was like normal everyday thing, but. I was just relaxed and dozing off, and which I thought was having a dream. And I was in this place, and it's so funny. They give you what you need or what you want. And Zamir is really quite a humorous person. He's very nice and he's very funny, I think. And he was like it looked like I Dream of Jeannie's bottle, but it was really cool. It was really huge, and he started walking up to me, and as he walked up to me, I was thinking to myself, "Gosh, I know you. God, what do I know you from?" And he took his palm and he palmed my forehead and he went, "Zamir." And I went, and then I woke up completely, and I was like, "Holy cow, that was amazing." And
Yeah.
I thought, okay, that was a weird dream. It went on, but then that same energy from the dream, I recognized it in my waking life. I'm like, "Oh, that is you." And then after I talked to him a little bit, he's rather new, actually. I've only known him for, well, humanly, I've only known him for maybe about 5, 6 years. But
So,
go
sorry to
ahead.
cut you off. So, why did he choose you and have you and he cross paths before this incarnation for you?
He says we know each other. We've always known each other. He is a teacher of many. So he's a guide to many. So they don't just, he's not my guide that came, and I have another guide that had been with me from birth and will be there till death. I don't know that one as well. I know when he's there, but he doesn't seem, I listen. I've been listening since I was a kid. So they never made it very important for me to have to know them because I already felt that I did. Zamir came into with all the spiritual stuff, extra spiritual stuff, and had observed me from before this, and he stepped in to help. He wanted to. I guess I'm a lot like him in a way. So that's what it feels. Why he's saying he does that. He looks. If I don't know if you've ever saw the movie League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
No.
You never saw. If you ever
No.
see that movie,
I'll write that down.
I don't know his name and I don't remember the movie much, but I remember when I saw the movie, I'm like, oh, that looks like Zamir. There's a character on there who wears the turban and he has the big submarine that can go through the water, and he takes all these people places. And he's got this black beard and it's kind of pointy, and that's kind of what Zamir looks like. Not as well kept, I know, but he says it just doesn't show me. He's like, he made a gesture because he doesn't need to show up well kept to me. I'm not looking for something marvelous, and he knows that. I don't
Yeah.
care I just don't care what anybody looks like. I'm cool.
Yeah.
But the guy lost track of your question because I was answering it now.
No, you did answer it. You did
Okay.
answer it. So the next question is, when he looks at where we are historically in terms of human and spiritual consciousness, what does he see and what does he want? Well, let me
You.
see. What?
Okay, well, I'll tell
Go
you.
for
and
it. Go for it. Yeah.
I mean, I might piss off people, but too bad.
That's
But I'll tell you. She said, "What do you see? What would make you angry if you were here? Is happy." He said everybody pays too much attention to the lies. He said that people don't understand that actually the truth is truth and not truth. Actually, he said those no bearing behind them. He said nobody designated what a truth was. On our planet, though, or in our incarnation, though, we do have truths because we have polarization. They don't have polarization back and forth over there. So everything is neither the truth or not the truth. You know what I'm saying? Over there, like in
Yeah.
the way of looking at things. They know what is correct information. They're not always based on fact. That's always been a problem. Is his with people here too. He said some people tend to base too many things on fact. Like in spirituality, he is not a fan of how people would say that some spirituality isn't true because there's nothing scientific to back it up. He said if they only knew that your science isn't the same science everywhere else, they're only doing the laws of physics and science that apply to your world and your dimension. They are all different everywhere. But he does say that they understand that we do follow facts on this planet. That is how we're based off of. He doesn't like the fact that there are people that literally, I mean, we know it. And I don't know if I'm allowed to give an example.
Give example. Yeah.
Okay. So I was watching with him. I can't remember his name. He's an interview who goes to the MAGA rallies. And I am not saying I have no political bias about it whatsoever. If people are good, people are good. If they're bad, they suck. I don't want anything to do with them. And okay, these MAGA people they're talking to are people I don't want anything to do with. But these people actually saying stuff about Kennedy, you can just hear these guys freak out when they talk about Kennedy is going to be a president, or that they don't believe all these indictments, or that they actually believe that that presidency from 2016 to 2020 was actually an honest thing. He said it was a necessary thing and they were quite aware that it was going to happen. But now it's done. They gave us a chance to fix that, and we did. And we did by 7 million votes or billion votes. However, if they didn't, whether they inflated that or not, doesn't matter. As far as they're concerned on the other side, we did the switch. And that's exactly what we were supposed to do. The presidency or the things that have happened in this world, not just in America, between 16 and 20, happened on purpose because of the fact the world has to be purged of just all the crap that we have inside. So many people during this time got permission to be jerks. They got permission to become totally service of self. They got permission to harm people. They got permission to do all these things. The only reason that permission was granted was to get that out of our system. It's kind of like when you're taking an infection out of your arm. You know, you got to put stuff on it. The infection has to come to the surface. They have, it's kind of gross. It's bad. It's terrible. And that's exactly what that was for. What he said, if I was there, what makes me angry, he said, they still didn't learn. And he said some of them, and that's what they're concerned about over there. They're like, we have no clue. People are trying to move this world forward. I mean, in a good way. But there are some people who are just resisting so bad, they're making it difficult for the others. There's nothing we can do about it, but he assures me that it's going to move on anyway because there are more people coming in to help with that.
Okay. I'm going to your beautiful face, I only see like a quarter of it in your shoulder.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There we go. There we go. Okay. So I hear it as this purging, this detoxing, and yet they didn't learn. They didn't get to the other side of that. And I feel like you answered a bit, but I want to ask, what does he suggest for those of us who see that and want to be able to move forward?
Okay.
What do we do?
There we go. He's equating it to the term that we use here as unplugging. He said, we've become so lazy as a species. He said, nobody wants to do anything. Nobody wants to research. Nobody wants knowledge anymore. They're that lazy where all they want to do is let somebody else just tell them what to think. And he said that's the best way to help those people, or if you can just suggest to people, he said to come out to people and tell them right off the bat that that's a lie that you're following and all this. He said to them, it's the truth. He said in their hearts, for some of them, it is the actual truth.
Yeah.
So he tells them you could get them to stop involving themselves in easiest way to say it was in the news. Don't watch the news all the time. And if you do watch the news, he's always said, watch all the news. That way you can get everyone's opinion. And he said, your heart will pick out the right one. Mm-hmm. He said, they don't even have to worry about it. Right now, their hearts have been inundated with the wrong opinion. That's the hardest part. So he said, it's pretty much all about just letting people know to unplug and not go at them. He said everybody here is on the defensive.
Yes.
And he said as though it seems like it's good for you or that it's a righteous judgment. He said it's really not. He said all you're doing is just resisting and going against everything. He said it's wiser to say nothing than to say something sometimes. But yeah, it's pretty much unplugged. I mean, they've had me do it. My life has totally changed. I got a little caught up in there for like a good 3 months, and I was like had rage going on.
And
they told me, they're like, no, stop.
Yeah, it's not helpful. When 45 was in office and so many atrocities thereafter, I just felt such rage in me.
Do you want to hear something? I got to tell you this. I got to add this because there are some who are not so great our politicians right now, and you probably know who a lot of them are. We don't even have to say their names. That innately, if they're like this far away from just turning around and going, they would be like wonderful, wonderful people. It's still in the spirit. There's a couple of them I look at and I just shake my head. I'm like, oh my gosh, you are so close to just turning around, but they're afraid.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
they're
so
afraid
much
to
of this
speak
is
their
fear.
truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I
it's
think,
some of the most nastiest ones, too.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I have a question if this is okay.
Hmm.
Is 45, my assumption is he is not going to be reelected, and that's not in the cards spiritually and on this planet. Does he have any insight into that?
Yeah, there is a dimension where he is directed. He said you won't be seeing that. There are some who will go to that. He said it's really quite miserable. He said, no, we don't have to worry about that. He said he he's trying not to be political. She doesn't mind. You don't, right?
No.
That's funny. Okay, so he's sorry. He's like, he's giving me he gave me flashes of all these people he agrees with, and he's telling me to go ahead and make my prediction. He said he
Okay.
won't make a prediction.
Okay.
No, Trump isn't going to be in there. 45 is not going to be in there again. Um, at this point, I don't respect the gentleman at all. I literally feel bad. He did take this on. This is spiritually something he came here to do. He came here to be the bad guy. So a lot of us are going to hate him for that. That's okay because what we're doing is we're not liking or hating the part he's playing. He did his job then because now we know who we are. Like you know who you are, I know who I am because I this doesn't seem right. They're like perfect.
Yeah.
That's the way it's supposed to be. The prediction wise, I have to agree with the prediction. I'm thinking that there's like few of them going to jail. No, he won't be there. He won't make it there. Biden, I believe, may get in there for another 2 years, and then the vice president will take over. I do agree with the fact that if the vice president takes over, they move Buttigieg out of his position and make him the vice president then, and that would give us the very first female, black female
Love
president
it.
and gay male vice president. And some people might not like that, but listen, if you're someone who's listening to this and not like that, my guide says he begs of you to please don't look at them as the outer shell.
Yeah.
Because he said honestly they all, although they have their faults like other human beings, don't let it fool you. Their intentions is to provide, to make things better forward. And that's what matters. Whether they go another term, I do not know. He said that that's up for grabs because on the other side, their party may go back to where it's supposed to. There is one thing, though. I don't know exactly how many years, but both parties get dissolved.
Oh, wow. So let me pull back.
Okay.
Does he know this because it's in the Akashic record, or how does he access this information?
It's our pathway. So we have a million outcomes. For everything that's not done, it has to be done someplace because energy constantly keeps going on. So there is a couple different versions of us. There's versions of you, like if you were a big partier and didn't go to college and you're drunk, there's that version that went on. There's all kinds of these. We are on the direct path of that version he speaks of. Most of us are. But see, what he said before, a lot of us are. But when the people who watch the news, according to the news, that's not true. Because they're not, and that's, he said, that's where the false truth is coming in. He said, as our numbers game, he said your numbers are way higher to move forward than they are to go back.
Numbers in terms of people?
People. Human
Okay.
souls. So there's more human souls and more human things, even on the let's say the opposite side, the bad side. We'll call it the bad side or the mean side, who are don't really want to be there. They really want to go forward, and and that's why there's a couple politicians as well. They're just waiting for that nudge, and I think they need to have confidence. He had told me before. There's a couple of them. If they literally switched parties right now and acted how they really want to act inside, they would never have to worry about being reelected again because they would be loved. But he said, but that's another path.
Yeah.
We don't know if they're going to take that path. But
Okay.
whether they take that path or not, the path we're on is getting rid of all this stuff that we're going through now. He said that's going to be dissolved away.
Okay. Then I have another question as it relates to paths. So there could have been like a Kristen who was a partier and didn't go to college. There could be a Kristen who married and had 12 kids. Like there are all these different paths. And then there's the path I'm walking. Are they all happening simultaneously? Like help. So there's another me that's living another life. It's
Well,
like a
it's
fraction of
simultaneous.
my soul.
Yeah, I know that's really hard for me to comprehend too. And you know what? I promise you, anybody who's listening, when you're no longer here and you go back, you totally understand it.
Yeah.
Okay? Because
Yeah.
it's your natural state. This is actually not a natural state. They had gave, and now I'm going to explain something in a minute because Zamir gave me this the other day, and I think it's quite beautiful. And I'll tell you about that, how spirits work. How this works. But yeah, there is no time. Everything is just this moment. In fact, the moment you're in now is literally the same moment you were in when you were 3. It's just the scenery has changed and you have a new focus of what you look like, but your soul is the same. Your soul is the same age, same as it was when it got here to when you leave here. But we gain knowledge throughout here and experience. That's what we're taking back. He had said something before, and this is what I wanted to get at. And I'm sorry to bypass this, but I don't know. You might need to hear it, or somebody might need to hear it.
Yeah.
I keep getting inundated with questions about people always asking me, and what happens if we go back and somebody else reincarnated? Can we still see them? And then I explained to them, no, because we're still over there. Then that came up the question, if most of our energy is still over there and only a small part of us in the universe, how does that work? Or what happens? Or how are our loved ones talking to us? So they told me. They gave me but it's in human ways, so we'd understand it.
Can
Do
I
you need to
slow you
ask
down?
something?
I want to, what you just said was complicated but really important. So
The
what I
what?
heard, what you just said was complicated but really important. So I want to rephrase it to make sure everyone is
Got
tracking.
it.
So what you are saying is, okay, so if I die, will I see my loved ones if they've already reincarnated when we're on the other side? That was part of what you said. And then
Yes.
I also heard you say, wait a second. The questions that are coming up are people saying, wait a second. So if so much of my energy is in heaven, the afterlife, the other side, how does that make sense me being here?
I'll explain that now.
Okay, but I did understand the questions.
Yes, you
Okay.
absolutely understood it.
Okay.
So the visual on how they gave it to me and everything, their logistics to it would take hours and days and eternity to explain. I don't get it. Some questions when I ask him, they're like, "Do you really want to know?" I'm like, "I do," and then I'm like, "Okay, I get it. I don't understand it all." So this is the most beautiful way they showed me, and this works for a lot of things, and it's how it is. So say me and you on the other side, and we're getting our plan together because we're coming out here, and people ask, how do you get there? And I'm just using us as an example. So me and you are going to meet up later on in life, and we're both born about the same time, let's say. So we go into a meadow or a meadow that we know, and we focus on that meadow, and we see a beautiful tree. And then we sit down against the tree, and we have all of our intentions, all of our plan in our head right now. And then we slowly fall asleep. And you're not really, but we slowly fall asleep. As you fall asleep, you start to focus and you become the dream character. and then you go into this life. So right now you're literally in a dream. Just a small percentage of you is here. That you are still sitting back under that tree. Now, when our loved ones want to speak to us, let's say your friend, because she came to mind the other day with the
Peggy.
dark hair, the really funny
Yeah.
thing. So say she wants to talk to you and she's on that side. She'll go to that meadow where you are and she'll kneel down next to you while you're sleeping and she'll whisper in your ear that she loves you, or I'm sending you a sign that you know I'm here. And hopefully, because you're in that dream state, you're kind of like hypnagogic state, you hear that, and then while you're here, you think about it, focus on it, and that sign shows up. Because people always ask me, how do they get the signs here? How do the birds do what they do? Because of the fact that we recreate our world when we're here. Everything we see right now, we're recreating. We know this, you know. If I didn't want to be on your show right now, I'll focus someplace else, and eventually you're going to go, well, he's not listening to us, and you hang up on me, and I wouldn't be on your show anymore. I mean, it's just how it goes. Where focus goes is where what we see. So that is how they do that. Sometimes where like I come in, because like my guides are doing the same thing, let's say. I'm sitting down under my tree right now, and they're all around me and they're talking to me, but they know that I have some kind of talent or gift, that I'm not as deep in a sleep state as everyone else is. Therefore, that's why we always say we want people to wake up. Because once you start to wake up and come out of that sleep a little bit, you can hear everything a lot better over there, because now you're not so deep in a sleep. Some people are so deep they don't hear anybody. You know, you have those people that you push on the bed and you're like, wake up, wake up. They're like, that's like half the people here right now. But then there's people like me, or the people that are awaking are kind of like, you can tap them on the shoulder and they're like, yeah, hi. You know, and they're kind of in that halfway dream state. Those are the people who are awake. That is why their world is different, because they kind of got that sense of the other side. And that's also why sometimes we get impatient and we go, I want this. Why isn't this not coming? I manifested this 10 years ago. Why isn't this coming? But you gotta have patience. It takes a second to get there. They heard you and it's on its way. But we have to, over there, if we think of something, it's automatically there, because there's no body you have to go to. But here, they're working with you, working with a physical body in physical time, with some kind of education, and you are taught different things than you actually really know. So we're like a big mess when we come here, and then we had to kind of sort it out. But that's the best way. They told me they wanted people to know that, because so many people have asked me.
I love that. No one has ever explained it like that to me, and I immediately get it, and I immediately feel it. That is so good. I had this experience, and I was trying to explain it to my husband the other night, and this is not something I haven't experienced, but I woke up in the middle of the night, as I often do, and I wasn't quite in my body. But part of me, not the Kristen me, but a different part, was like, wait, who am I now? My husband and I don't sleep in the same room because he snores so loudly and I'm menopausal and have hot flashes and it's a nightmare and sleep is an issue. Okay. So I suddenly was like, who is my husband now? Like, it was just like such a disoriented, and I wasn't scared. It was just like I wasn't in this story for a moment, in this very weird, disembodied, disconnected, like what's happening here? So when I go back to that experience, it actually connects to, it's like I kind of woke up for a second from the dream, is how I connect to that.
Yeah. And that's all we do. And which is so funny when you hear all the politicians talking about woke. Woke is so funny. It's basically, basically they're running to shutting down people being awakened. And they've been trying to do that since the beginning of life. There have always been people, it's like, if we keep the people stupid, they'll do what we say. But the moment they realize who they are, they're going to change everything. And that's okay, because that's, the power they go through. What? He said you have a good marriage that way because of the fact you're two souls that aren't depending on each other, as far as you're just enjoying each other.
Good.
He said that was good. He admired that. Oh. He's not one on marriage. It's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah. So now this fourth dimension, and people waking up. How soon will we get there? And I remember you were talking about two realities: service to self, service to
Service
others.
to others. They're pushing us there. It's getting closer. You'll know exactly when you're on that fourth and fifth when the others start to come here. You'll
Let's
know.
let's
You'll be
let's
there then. They won't be here until we do that. Yeah.
Okay.
And everybody will be accepting of it at that point. It's not far off. We'll
I
see it
hear
in our
within the next
lifetime.
10 years. I keep hearing people say in the next 10
Yeah,
years.
it's in our lifetime. It's coming up. I mean, most of us. I've been seeing him more and more. My guy, and I haven't talked to you since then. On my show, we were talking about it. My other podcast, The Thing at the Foot of the Bed. My friends know about this. The alien I saw when I was like 4 or 5. He's been coming back the last week. He's been showing up all over the place. I mean, and I'm not talking. I mean, some people. I'm someone who, and I will close my eyes and just not meditate, not do anything spiritual, not do anything, and he will show up in my face, and he's been showing up everywhere. I feel the same energy I felt when I was little, and the look is the same, but they still just give me the face, like I'm supposed to remember that face. And now people, and it was funny, he started showing up. And then that video of that girl on the airplane and all that, saying that guy in the green hoodie was a reptilian and all
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And okay, now here's the deal. What I know, it's became clearer and clearer. Reptilian is not like a lot of people think it's some evil race that's doing this. We do have a part of our brain they call the reptilian part of the brain. Scientists coined it that.
Yes.
It's almost like a fight or flight type
It's
thing.
the
It
limbic
just
system, the lizard
yeah.
reptilian. Yeah.
And that's what they say. That's because these creatures were we were raped by them or
It's like a
whatever they said. And
hybrid sort
yeah,
of. Yeah.
and yeah, people are hybrid, but actually everybody on this planet is a freaking hybrid of some sort. There's no such thing as a pure human anything. But no, they keep saying they live underground and that people change into them. I can guarantee you, I know this guy. I've known him for a long time. They don't shapeshift into other things. I don't even know where the shape-shifting thing came from because they don't change. I think if anything, if you had a one-on-one conversation with one, I think probably the most that person can do is how they describe to me is manipulate your thoughts to make you focus on what you think you see. They don't actually change. It's kind of like if we put an apple in the middle of a table, you and I are both going to see the apple differently, right? And until somebody goes, but notice the red in the spot. And as soon as we say that, we both start to notice that same spot. So then that becomes apparent in the apple. It's the same thing as how I think people see reptilians or other people I think is shapeshifters. They're not literally shaping. They're just for how I don't know how they're doing it, but they manipulate with the way we see.
So when we're talking about aliens, I think there are some who might be like, okay, now that was a bridge too far, or that's really creepy. What are they here to do? And I know they've been around us for
Anybody
millennia.
to anybody who thinks that's creepy and all this stuff, I can assure you that I've known this for a very long time, and people can believe whatever they need to believe. That's the
Right.
beauty of being here, to
Right.
learn something.
Yes.
So I'm going to tell you what I know in my heart to be true and what my guides talk to me about. And you might think that's crazy too, because I talk to invisible people, but to me, they're very, very, very much real, and they've proven themselves over and over to know stuff because
Yeah.
when I tell people stuff, it doesn't come from me. It comes
Well,
from
no,
them.
when you were talking with both Peggy and my dad, you knew things. There was just absolutely, absolutely no way on. In my greatest imagination, you would know.
No. Well, thank you. But that's because they're the ones saying it.
Exactly.
That's why I tell
Exactly.
people.
You're the
People ask,
messenger.
oh God, you're good. Are you psychic? No. Well, that's not a psychic thing. You can learn stuff from psychic thing, but even if it was a psychic thing, I still think that's a pretty marvelous thing. But but yeah, that's because they are here, and I wish people could understand that. And one day they will. One
Yes.
day. The world isn't quite ready to go into that space where people are well aware of where they came from. Because I think because we're kind of so primitive, I think people would just find it hard and start offing
Yeah.
themselves everywhere.
Right,
Like,
right. It's
now
too
let's do this
threatening.
over.
Yeah, it's too
Yeah.
threatening.
So it's back to the original question, which was the,
Which was, what are the aliens
oh,
here?
then what not so creepy.
Yeah, not so creepy. So first of all, let me back up. So that lady on the plane, was she actually seeing something, or
I
what
think it's a
is?
setup.
That's what I thought too. It felt really
It's a
gross.
setup, but it's funny that that stuff is coming up. All of a sudden, all this reptilian stuff is coming up.
Yep.
But I asked them, I'm like, why are you showing up now? And then all of a sudden, now I'm seeing it. And they said they wanted me to think about that. They said, we showed us you, and now you're seeing that everywhere. So he said, because we showed it to you, we now have it in your focus. We have now have it in your mindset. So now you're aware of that stuff when it pops up. So I'm going to be able to pick it out. That happens to everybody. If you did you ever hear the ladder experiment or anything where you can sit here and you just say for a couple days in a row or all day long, I'm looking for a red ladder. I want to see a red ladder. I want to climb a red ladder at some point. And then you give it a certain amount of time. And in that certain amount of time, a red ladder will show up just because you put it out there. I mean, that's manifesting stuff. That's if people knew how easy it was to really have what you wanted. I mean, nobody here would be lack of food, lack of water, lack
Well,
of nothing.
so next session, I want to just put that on the shelf of let's return to that. I think people would be really interested in understanding what it would require to get to that place of manifesting more easily. So know that next time we meet, that's coming up. But in the meantime, and I can't believe time is going by so very, very quickly, what do the aliens, why do they want to be in communication with us, and what do they want to teach us?
They consider us family, most of them, the ones who are watching here, because of the fact they were us at some point. So if we look at a lot of them, some are from other worlds completely. There is a mass, like they say, it sounds so cliche, but there really is a mass federation of all these. It's not just like we have a government in our worlds here. Imagine that, but it's everything in this universal thing. They would like us to be part of that now. And we're a little behind, so they've been trying to give us technology to get us up. And it's not as much the technology we have, and it's not as much the thoughts of the smartness. It's not the IQ. It's the spiritual IQ they're looking for, because
Yes.
we have to be able to accept, after all these hundreds of thousands of years of learning how the world became one time, and they're going to come here and change that. They're going to tell us, this is really how you started. We're going to tell you guys everything. They're like, it's time for you to know all the links of the chain, and we think you can handle it now. And that's why they're coming here. Once they come here, then and that happens, then I guess we'll have to see how that goes from there. Some will fall behind, some will not. They'll probably be going to that earth, like I said, when it splits off, the service to self and service to others. The service to others part, that's the part that's really going to hit home and go. So when they come here, that'll be the big split.
Okay, and to clarify, so people aren't imagining the planet actually splitting in half, it's really a state of consciousness. That's
Yeah,
the
it's
spiritual
conscious.
IQ. It's consciousness. Those who are service to others will be part of that fourth and fifth dimension, whereas service to self, they're going to be stuck more in the mucky muck of that low vibration.
Yeah. And it is, yeah. And you know what? And to be perfectly clear, to be caught in that mucky muck does not make them evil people, does not mean there's nothing. It's literally just where the vibration lies. And just let everybody know, if you're in that part and when you have to reincarnate or do whatever you do to reincarnate, you can only go to that one. You can't go to the other one all of a sudden. You have to graduate back up now.
To learn the lessons. And also, when you're even talking about 45, being like, that was his contract to be the bad guy. Some people may be in the contract to be in that service to
And there
self.
are.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
But just because they're doing that contract here doesn't mean that that's their normal state of being. That's why I always tell people the best thing you can always do before you leave here is forgive people who've done stuff to you, because really in the end it doesn't matter, because some of your worst enemies here may be your best friends over here, but those were the ones that came to help you with the lesson because you would understand.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I could talk to you forever because there is so much to say, which is exactly why I wanted to have you on a recurring level, because this is captivating, enthralling, important. So, one final question for Zamir.
Mm-hmm.
What does he want our listeners to know today?
Okay. Okay. The most important thing you could know and start doing right now is look around and be happy that you're here. He said a lot of people didn't get to come here. You chose to be here. He said it's exciting. He said you have no idea how much this is expanding your soul and the extra places you're going to be able to go and the things you're going to be able to do. He said also a thing that's very important, especially for this planet, is for people to open their heart and start seeing people in love. Even if they make you angry, being angry is okay to do, but don't wish revenge, don't want revenge, don't hurt people. He said every time you do that, he said literally you are doing it to yourself, because he said we all belong to the same one.
I love that. Well, if
Is
you
that
could...
it? He said not as good as me. All right, but I'm sorry.
No, it's
I asked him if
great.
that was it. He said it wasn't as good as I could have said it. But
He's going to keep you humble, David.
some of the translations, it's hard for me to get. It's weird. It's hard to explain how that goes. But some of the
Yeah.
translations I don't understand.
Okay. Well, your translation for me felt really beautiful and meaningful.
Oh, good.
So
Well,
thank you, and thank him, please.
I will.
Yeah, yeah. So we will be seeing you again in a month. Is there anything, David, you want to say? Not Channel, but David Hanzel, that you want to say?
Yeah, if you're listening, you don't have to take the world so seriously. If the battle you're in is making you feel crappy, get out of that battle. There's no reason to be in it. Just because if you change sides, or if you change an opinion, or if you change your beliefs about something, that's nothing more than getting smarter and gaining knowledge. So you're totally upping yourself. I think it's cool. I think it's fun to be wrong sometimes. It's okay to be wrong.
That's so good. That's so good. Thank you so, so much. And I can't wait for our next episode with you to talk about manifesting.
Okay.
What a remarkable experience and conversation. How lucky are we to be able to listen to David and to his guides. I hope this was as meaningful to you as it was to me. What I want you to know, as I shared, is that David is going to be with us every month. And so if you have questions for him, for his guides, send them to me and I'll bring them to the next show. You can reach out to me at Coach Kristen Taylor, KRISTIN, @gmail.com. And let me know if you want me to share your name or not, just the question, and I will be sure to ask your question. If you want to learn more about David or perhaps get a reading yourself, I encourage it. You can reach David at theywhispertome.com. And he also has his own podcast called The Thing at the Foot of the Bed. Thank you, David, and thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time on How I Made It Through.
How I Made It Through is produced and distributed by EIQ Media, LLC. Elevate your emotional IQ with podcasts and content focused on overcoming adversity, leadership, mental health, entrepreneurship, spiritually transformative experiences, and more.